Hello board game brothers and sisters, I'm Adam Singer and welcome to another episode where I'll be letting you know of all the board games launching on Kickstarter and Gamefound over the next week. Except for there's nothing launching over the next week, so instead of doing that, I'm going to be going over some of the big campaigns that you can expect in the first quarter of 2024. There's a lot of games coming up, just not in this month, so I don't really have anything for the usual content here, so instead we're just going to look a little bit more into the future. But before we do that, I do have a little bit of a special announcement here because I might be able to save some of you a bit of money if you are planning to attend the LevelUp event here in February. If you're not planning to yet, you should definitely consider it because it's going to be a ton of fun. This event is all about just playing games and hanging out with a bunch of cool people from the community, and everyone there is just there to support each other, teach each other games, and jump in on games with anyone looking for an additional player. But like I said, there's going to be a ton of cool people there from the community, including a bunch of different designers and content creators, and this is hosted by Alex over at Board Game Co, so you'll definitely see a lot of him. But Grant Lyon will be there, and he'll probably be putting on some sort of stand-up show. But if one comedian isn't enough, we'll also have Jeff from the Dragon's Tomb, and I know a lot of you probably already know Anthony and Francis from the Ant Labs. They'll be there along with Devin from Devin Talks Tabletop, and Jenna from the Board Game Garden, and Megan, who you've probably seen on a lot of Board Game Co content, but she has her own Instagram as well. But there's also going to be Chris George from Room and Board, as well as this handsome fellow at the end of the list. So if you just want to play some games and hang out with us, this is definitely an event that you should attend. And like I said, I do have a coupon code for you. Compliments of Alex over at Board Game Co because he provided this one to me, but this will give you $10 off whatever badge that you decide to buy. And I don't think I shared the exact details yet, but this one is going to be hosted in Woodbridge, New Jersey, and it is scheduled for February 2nd to the 4th. And Alex did plan all this, being very cost conscious for the people attending. So if you are interested in going, I do recommend that you check out what it would cost for you to attend, because you might be surprised at how affordable it might be. And definitely use the coupon code as well, because that will make it even more affordable. And I know I did mention this LevelUp event a few times in previous videos already, so if you did already sign up for a badge, I'm not sure if or how you can still apply this coupon code. I apologize for that. I didn't know I was getting this until now, but there might still be a way, so feel free to log in and try applying it to your cart. Hopefully it works, and hopefully I'll see you there. And if you are attending, feel free to reach out to me or find me there, because I will definitely be up for playing some games and hanging out and just having a great time. But that's all I wanted to mention for an intro, so let's check out some of the games that you can expect in the first quarter of 2024. And I do have a ton more games on my list than just these, but these are just a few of the ones that stand out, and they're just the ones that I think that most of you might be interested in. And of course, I will be going through all of these as well as the others in a lot more detail during the weeks of their launch. But of course, you can also check our Discord in the description below if you want to see a bit more into the future. But this first one is the only one that I actually do have a launch date for. This one's going to be launching on January 16th, and this is a new expansion for the Conan board game. And if you're not familiar with this game, this is a really big miniatures style game that is primarily one versus many, although I think they did also add an expansion that does allow you to play fully cooperatively. And if you're familiar with Batman Gotham City Chronicles, these two do operate on the same core system. Basically, there's a bunch of different scenarios, and players are going to be using their player boards to manage their energy, while the enemy player will be managing a queue of enemies and trying to manipulate their order in order to try and activate the ones that they want to activate first in that order. Of course, there's a lot more to it than that, and I have covered this one in the past along with a ton of other content creators, so there is previous footage out there if you want to learn more. But this one's essentially going to be adding a versus mode as well as a new expansion. And the next campaign we have is an expansion for the game Thunder Road Vendetta, and this one is being offered by Restoration Games, which is essentially a publisher that takes some older classic board games and basically brings them up to snuff with modern board games by upgrading their artwork and streamlining their rules, and even adding some new mechanisms and expansions like the one that we have here. But Thunder Road is a fantastic game where players are just trying to be the first to get to the end of the map. What's cool about this game is that the map is covered with all sorts of obstacles and dangers, and players will be controlling 3 different cars of varying stats, as well as a helicopter. Each vehicle is going to be a little bit different than the others, but players are going to be ramming into each other and doing all sorts of things to try and eliminate their opponents, with the main goal of just trying to stay ahead of them and be the first to cross that finish line. And we should also be seeing a reprint and new expansion to the game Dead Reckoning in the first quarter of 2024. This one was announced on Board Game Geek, but there's not a whole lot of info on this one just yet. But I did want to mention this one for a couple reasons. First off, this is a fantastic game that a lot of people really like. It's a pirate-themed game where players are not only going to be deck building, but you're also doing a bit of deck construction because you can actually combine cards together to create brand new cards. Some of the cards are going to be clear and you'll be able to slide them on top of each other into a sleeve, creating new combinations that are completely up to you and will be completely different from game to game. This is also quite a large game that's not ever going to retail, so if you do want to get in on this, it's probably going to be expensive, and also you're only able to get it on crowdfunding. So if you are interested in this one, I do recommend trying to play it before you go in and back the all-in pledge, because even though this is a game that a lot of people love, it is also quite a lot to table. If you did back one of the original campaigns like I did, this is probably a good time to try and get that to the table and see if it's a game that you want to add more content to, or if you are happy with what you have. Also launching in the first quarter of 2024, expected in February or March, we have the next South Tigris game. This one is called Inventors of the South Tigris. And I believe this is the last one in the series because they already had Wayfarers of the South Tigris as well as Scholars of the South Tigris, and I do believe that this is supposed to be a series of 3 games. But in this one, players are going to be inventing, building, testing, and publishing different devices, trying to score the most points at the end of the game, training their craftspeople and developing their workshops, and researching and influencing the 3 scientific guilds. This one is still a ways away, so there's not too much info on it beyond that, but if you are interested, as always, I will be covering it in the week of its launch, so make sure to subscribe down below. And this next one looks really interesting for a few reasons, but this one's called Horrors on the Orient Express. And this one is a cooperative game where players are going to be on a train that's traveling into the dream world, because this does take place in the Cthulhu universe. And something that is really interesting about this is that it does take place in the Call of Cthulhu universe, which is a very, very popular tabletop RPG. It's actually the most sold out of any tabletop RPG ever. And I think the main reason for that is because of how popular it is in Asia, but obviously it is a great franchise to be as popular as it is. And the whole concept here looks really interesting because players are going to be investigators trapped on the train, traveling through a dream world and going up against all sorts of horrors and mysteries. Players are going to be working together to fight back against these horrors and to try to stop the cultists from performing their ritual. And if the players are able to do that, then they'll win the game. Another neat fact about this one is that it is designed by 2 designers that do have quite a bit of experience. First, we have Adam Kwipinski, who you might have seen on a lot of Awakened Realms games, for example, for Nemesis, Lords of Hellas, and a ton of others as well. So if you're a fan of his designs, this is probably one that you'll want to check out. But we also have Mikhail Golbiowski, and he also designed a ton of games as well, with the most notable being Destinies back in 2021. I'm really interested to hear more on this one, and of all the games that I'm mentioning here in this video today, this is probably the one that I am personally the most interested in. Also expected to launch in the first quarter of 2024, we have Catacombs II, and I did want to mention this one because this is the next iteration of Catacombs, and Catacombs is quite a famous flicking game, and I'm pretty sure if there was a subcategory of flicking games on Board Game Geek, this would probably be ranked somewhere near the top. And that sounded like something that should exist, so I checked on Board Game Geek, and you can go to the flicking mechanism and see all the linked games. And I do have them sorted by rank, and yes, it is number 4 within that category. So if you are interested in flicking games, this is definitely one that you'll want to check out. But Catacombs 2 isn't going to be replacing that original game. In fact, it's not just a reprint with some new artwork. This is actually going to be a brand new game from the ground up with a few different design goals. For example, this one isn't only going to be focused on the dexterity flicking elements, and there's actually going to be some alternative ways that you can engage in combat and move around the board that aren't only flicking. This one does also feature a bit more mature artwork than that original game. I don't think it's so far out there that you can play this with kids, but it does look like they are trying to make this one a little bit more difficult than the original. This one is 1 versus many, and it doesn't look like there's going to be a fully cooperative mode just yet, but as always, things can change as games develop. So if you do want to know more about this one when it launches, I will provide all those details during the week of its launch. And the next game we have is called Fate Defenders of Grimheim, and this one is a Viking-themed game where players are going to be working cooperatively in order to defend Freya against all sorts of enemies like trolls, the dead, and hordes of monsters that are going to be approaching from all sides of the game board. I haven't looked into this one too much, but I did just want to mention it because it is being published by Fricks Games, which doesn't publish too many games, but they are famous for creating Terraforming Mars, which is one of the most top-rated games of all time. They are a bit of a one-hit wonder here with Terraforming Mars, so just because you like that game doesn't mean that you will like this one, but it's always interesting to see what they come out with next, so for that reason I wanted to add it to this list. But as always, I do recommend checking it out for yourself, and if they do end up offering a tabletop simulator or Tabletopia link, it's always good to try and play before you buy. But I will link this as well as all the previous games in the description below if you do want to check them out. And those are all the games I want to cover for now, but as always, a ton of more games are going to be announced each and every week throughout the entirety of 2024, so if you do want to stay up to date with all the games as they're announced, definitely subscribe down below because I will be going into a lot more detail into all of these games and more as we move into the upcoming weeks. If you're looking for some additional content in the meantime, I did just post a really interesting video that I've been getting a lot of positive feedback from. I put a lot of effort into it, and it's also an interesting topic, going into a deep dive onto when a board game is too expensive and digging into common tactics and things that I think should or should not add to the value of a game. You can find that on my channel, but I'll also link it in the description below. But before we wrap up this video, I do just want to draw the giveaways from last week because we had a bunch of giveaways to go through, and we have Moonrollers in the Dark Matter expansion, as well as Gudnak, BB Blast, Fire Noodle, Eating Champs, and Way of Thinking. And the first one we'll draw for is for Moonrollers, and all you had to do to enter these giveaways was leave a comment on the previous video. But all these extra entries down here are also for my Ko-fi supporters. If you do like this content, you want to help support the channel, I do have a couple links in the description below, both for one-time donations or if you want to sign up as a membership to join our community. If you're able to afford it, I really do appreciate it. It helps make all these efforts just a little bit more sustainable for me because I don't get paid for any of this work and I don't take money from publishers. But if not, that's perfectly fine as well, and I do appreciate you just checking out and joining in the fun and watching these videos. All these names down here are bonus entries for my supporters on Ko-fi, which is just a nice perk. But let's go ahead and draw the comments from that video and draw a winner for Moonrollers. And the winner is Jonathan Lord 9190, and this is one of the YouTube comments, so congratulations, Jonathan. Just email me at adam@shelfclutter.com and we'll get that pledge all sorted out for you. But now let's go ahead and draw for the next pledge, which was for a pledge for Gudnak. So let's go ahead and draw those comments and draw a winner. And the winner for Gudnak is Profit 0007, and this is one of the supporters from Ko-fi, so thanks so much for that, and congratulations on the win. I'll reach out to you and let you know that you won yourself a pledge for Gudnak. For the remaining 3 giveaways that we have here, these were all run over on the Discord, and all you got to do to enter that giveaway is check out the Discord in the description below, head over to the giveaways channel and click the little emoji underneath this giveaway. I do post these videos before these giveaways have fully completed, so if you're watching this early enough, there still might be some time to jump in on it. Feel free to do that, and good luck in the giveaway. But for anyone that did enter these giveaways, just make sure that you check out the Discord because I will message whoever wins to let them know that they did win one of these giveaways. And that's everything I have for you this week, and I did have to get a little creative to put together a video for you here this week. I hope you like the little bit of a change in content. I know it's not exactly what we normally have, but unfortunately there's just no games launching this month. With that being said, it is nice to have a bit of a break because I do have a lot of other things I want to work on, both on the channel and outside of the channel, so I'm going to be spending my time working on those. And of course, it's just a good time to play some games, so make sure that you're making some plans with your friends to try and get some games to the table because that just makes it that much more likely. But that's it for the episode, and thanks so much for watching, and until next time, keep that shelf cluttered and the table full.
all.